Chapter 77.
You are now listening to the Chapter of the Architect with DJ Architect.
What's going on, my people? Once again, this is your homeboy DJ Architect. Listen, guys, I want to welcome you guys to Chapter 77. You hear that cracking in the background? That's my homeboy Tony Morrow in the studio with me. This individual, he retired from the Navy, got out as a senior chief. Was a police officer. That's where I met him. He was a coach. He was a principal. Ladies and gentlemen, Tony Morrow in the place to be. Tony, thank you so much for your time, my brother.
Hey, no problem, man. You know, anything for you. Anything for you.
I appreciate it. First and foremost, I want to give condolences to all the military members that lost their lives in Afghanistan.
Amen.
This was very recent, and regardless of what political views individuals have, my condolences to the family. My heart goes out to them and their loved ones. Tony, where are you from? Tell us about, your childhood, and tell us about your family while you were growing up.
So I'm originally from Birmingham, Alabama. Lived in Alabama until I was 15. And then we moved to Oceanside, California. Lived in Oceanside, went to high school here. Oceanside's where I joined the military. But before I step, I guess, into that part of life, as far as growing up and things like that, we didn't grow up with a whole lot, but it may sound cliche, but there was a lot of love going around.
Yeah.
And actually, I was an adult kind of going back to visit where we grew up and show my kids and things. And I started realizing we were poor. My mom, was a registered nurse, my stepfather was, in groceries, but he was always a manager, somewhere. But anyway, I look back now and just, they're not even places I would let my kids hang out for the day, know. But anyway, it didn't kill me, obviously. And so moved to California.
Why, if you don't mind me asking, why Oceanside? Why California?
Yeah, well, so at the time, my first cousin, rest her soul, was married to a Marine, and they lived out. They had dated through high school and everything. So, but anyway, they lived out here. So we had come out to visit. My mom kind of fell in love and said, "Hey, I'm moving to California." And so I think that might have been a year and a half before we ended up moving.
What year was this?
1985.
Okay.
And so she had, there was a bunch of nursing. Something happened. They needed a bunch of nurses in California, and then her master's is in psychiatric nursing with specialty in chemical dependency.
Oh, wow.
And so anyway, there, some stuff opened up and we were able to move. And so anyway, got here, enrolled in Oceanside High School. Oceanside, what's up? But anyway, and, continued playing sports, this, that, and the other. But probably the most important thing about Oceanside is that's where I actually met my current wife.
Wow.
And I use the word current because we started dating. She was a 15-year-old sophomore. I was a 16-year-old junior. We've now been together 34 years, married for 32, and we've never broken up and gotten back together
Look at that.
Believe me, we had them days. Now you felt like it, but but so I like to say my current wife because and I'm not knocking or anybody or anything like that, but a lot of people reconnect, connect, from high school relationships and things like that. But anyway, probably the biggest thing. And then while we were in high school, my wife actually got pregnant. So she was 16 when our son was born. And he was born 7 days exactly before my high school graduation night.
Oh, wow.
So, anyway, it was...
How old were you?
I was 17.
You were 17.
Yeah. So, long story short, as far as getting to my military career and reasoning, nothing super major except at that time of life, we thought we knew what we wanted, and it has worked out or turned out that we did in that, I had some college opportunities after high school. And I had a lot of people trying to push me to do this and do that. But we had made the decision right after high school, we wanted to get married and be a family.
Good for you.
So once the two of us made that decision, I didn't really care what anybody else thought. And so we just, did what we did. And so, fortunately, the military opportunity was there. Funny story, which I don't know if it's funny or not, but there are no coincidences. So I'm going to tell you how God got me in the Navy. So I have a sister-in-law that's the same age as me, and we were in the same graduating class. So she and I were going to join the Air Force together on the buddy program. And so I was going to go in the Air Force, be security police, or either SS, security specialist. But, you had to pass the spec warfare test and all that for SS. But anyway, so we were going to go, and that was our plan. We were going to boot camp together. And so we go down and all the tears, and, we get dropped off at MEPS for the hotel, and we're getting ready to fly out. And, it just all worked out because her school was in Lackland. My school would have been in Lackland, so we would have been together, for quite a bit.
Right.
So anyway, we're down there. We spend the night. We've already done all the crying and, girlfriends and boyfriends and parents. Everybody are gone. And I've seen my little baby for, what's going to be a minute.
Right.
So anyway, we get down there and we're in the room, the whole group. They're getting ready to swear us in. So he said, does anyone have any questions before I swear you guys in? And I said, yeah, no one ever told me I'll be able to carry my son as a dependent. And the guy says, that's your wife will take care of all that stuff. And I go, I'm not married. What? Did someone tell you to keep that a secret? And I go, no, it never came up. That's why I'm asking the question.
Right now.
So they yanked me out of the room, took me back. Long story short, took them about 45 minutes to an hour and a half to have me discharged from the Air Force Delayed Entry Program.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, I don't mean to cut you off, Tony, but I want people to recognize the importance of this moment, this group of people that you were in. You were seconds away from being sworn in.
Oh, yeah.
And guys, I'm talking about from personal experience. When I was in that room, nobody had any questions. You probably, being a sharper individual compared to a lot of people, had a very viable question that needed to be answered. And it was a good thing that you asked it.
Right.
and you weren't afraid and like, oh, I'm just going to roll with it and figure it out as it comes, man. That was a very important question. So what happens?
So anyway, they get me discharged. And so they actually ended up calling my recruiter back because, he had come down or whatever. It wasn't too long. But anyway, so he came back, and I think they probably took him in, knowing what I know now about the military. Yeah, so he got chewed up and down probably pretty good. But anyway.
You know what, Tony? Because a lot of people are probably thinking, well, what's the big deal? Can you please explain to them why he got chewed out?
Well, yeah, because the belief would be in order for him to try to, make a, certain number or quota or this, that, and the other, that they're either A, willing to lie to, recruits, or B, they're willing to lie and be deceptive to get, possibly otherwise unqualified, recruits in. And so, it was important, and, I didn't know at the time really what I was doing, but I had to actually write a statement saying that no one ever asked me, had never come up, blah, 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 blah. And so, again, based on the career that I have had, I know now why, a lot of that stuff happened.
And those are questions that need to be asked by the recruiter to the individual coming into the office. Hey, so what's going on with you? Do you have any kids? Are you married? And if they're not asking that, they want numbers, guys. So you have to be very, very careful.
Well, but I was still in high school. So
yeah, but that wasn't your responsibility.
Correct.
That was his responsibility.
But I mean, my point is, maybe he just didn't think about it. But anyway, so he comes back and he picks me up. And he's going to bring me back home. I live in Oceanside. So he's going to bring me back home. And he says, hey, do you mind if we go by the recruiting station? There's no cell phones out, these days or whatever. So my family doesn't know what happened. They just know I'm on the way home. So anyway, we came and we stopped at his office at the recruiting station. And so he was like, yeah, there's no way we can just let you go. And he said, with your test scoring, I got the right thing for you. So anyway, he took me to the Navy recruiter and he said, don't let him out of your office without getting him to sign up. And so they went out, had a little bit of conversation, this, that, and the other. He came back, and one of the things I really like about my recruiter, that kind of made me trust him, was he came back in the door, and the first words out of his mouth were, please believe I would never try to force you or influence you to do anything that you didn't bring up or ask about.
Was this the Air Force recruiter or the Navy recruiter?
That's the Navy recruiter.
The Navy recruiter said this to you.
Okay. Said it. So I said, okay. And so we kind of started talking, and I think I scored a 93 on the ASVAB. Oh, wow. And so I ended up taking the nuke test, and I took the ATF for the advanced technical field and the AEF for the advanced electrical field. I took all those tests basically. Scored well.
Right. Absolutely right.
Wasn't sure whether I was going to stay in or not, so I was afraid of the nuclear program, because it was a minimum 6-year sign up.
Right. Number
2, not knowing, you'd say nuclear program, I think submarine. That just wasn't happening, So anyway, long story short, at that time you could not join the Navy and go directly into law enforcement. You had to make E4, and you had to have 3 straight 4.0 evals. We were still on the 4.0 system back then.
Can you explain 4.0 to the people who are listening with civilians?
So you, and I probably can't remember all of this, but anyway, at the time, the 4.0 system, you had I think military bearing, you had personal behavior, you had, all these different things that they're looking at from a character standpoint and a job standpoint. And then you could be ranked a 1 through a 4, basically. A 1 is needs improvement, needs work, the nicest words they could find for you're all jacked up. And then for 2, like I think 2 is progressing. And so that means you getting better, but you still all jacked up.
You need improvement.
Yeah. Right. And then I think a 3 was like good to excellent or something like that. And then if you were a 4.0 sailor, then everything was outstanding. Yeah, straight up and down. And so the Navy was on that system. The Marine Corps was actually already using that system. And so we finally switched to it because the Navy at one point was thinking about being like the Marine Corps and let you earn your promotion. Yeah. But, that took too much power away. So we stayed with the whole testing and evals.
It took too much power away from the individuals promoting?
Correct.
You think?
Correct.
And that's to me, that's BS.
Correct.
If you want to get promoted, bust your ass. But in the Navy, it was almost like they were cherry picking, right?
I mean, yeah, the thing is, I could be the smartest person in the shop. I could be the hardest worker, in first, out last, top notch. But if 1 or 2 people above me, so if I'm not the chief and the chief doesn't care for me, yeah, I ain't going too far.
Right.
I'm never going to be the number 1 first class in the shop. Yeah. I'm never going to be, these things. And so my point is, it's rare they both would be, but you get one chief in your career who didn't like you, that should not ruin your career.
I agree.
And in the Navy, it could cost you anywhere from 2 to 3 years of promotion.
That's right.
Because you got to get the the bad eval out.
Yes, and that's money. We're not just talking about the multiplier by the years, but we're also talking about for retirement if you decide that you want to do 20 years.
Right.
It's huge, guys.
Well, not only that, I mean, the bottom line is in the civilian world, if you was out working somebody else, they wouldn't get paid what you get paid if they even kept the job, So it wasn't impossible, but it was kind of hard to fire people from the Navy. But believe me, we did it. Yeah. But you know what I mean? It's
now you guys go by the system of a test score, right?
We always have them.
You guys always have, but then there's the issue of an individual can be good at retaining knowledge, study, earn a high score, get promoted, but be a total dick, asshole, or have no type of leadership skills,
or don't know where the on-off button is on their own equipment.
Yes.
Let me go pull out the schematics. Yeah. I'll show you where you turn it on at, because like you said, they've learned everything there is to know about the theory of the job.
But never applied hands-on experience to learn the shit.
Yeah, correct. So anyway, like I said, I ended up coming in as an interior communications electrician, as an IC-man initially, because like I said, you couldn't come in as a master at arms at that time. The Navy, you couldn't join the Navy and go into law enforcement. And so anyway, came in, did my job, had 4.0 evals, consecutive, blah, blah, blah. And then as soon as I was eligible, I put into cross rate.
Meaning you wanted to do a new military occupational job, right?
Correct, to go from one job to the other. And so I did. And so I ended up going to the academy at Lackland because the Air Force and the Navy do their law enforcement training together at Lackland, and then the Marine Corps and the Army do theirs together at Fort Leonard Wood. It used to be at Fort McClellan, but anyway, it's at Fort Leonard Wood, Kansas now. But the irony in that is that's where I wanted to start my Air Force career.
That's right.
And so I tell everyone my real Navy career started after I got back from the academy.
Why law enforcement?
I always wanted to be in law enforcement. Like growing up, We playing cops and robbers. Hey, I'm coming after you.
I remember being kids, man, and we used to have, it was my brother, this kid Ronaldo, and these two twins. These twins were like gorillas, big boys for their age. And we used to play cops and robbers, but we were on bicycles. And the way the police officers, as us being kids, this is by our rules, the way we captured the burglar or the robbers was by us being, while on the bicycle, riding up next to them and then kicking them off the bike. And if they fell, you go to prison.
You better pedal faster. You better learn how to pedal faster.
So you say once you went into law enforcement, that's when your military career began.
Yeah, and I say that again simply because I actually really enjoyed, being in engineering, but it was never what I wanted to do. I've always had a pretty good troubleshooting brain, but my preference would be to troubleshoot another brain than a piece of equipment. And so law enforcement, in particular investigations, allows you to do that. And so it was my interest. And it's funny because becoming a master at arms didn't guarantee that training.
That's
You
right.
know what I mean? And, especially, at the time that, I joined, here's a fun fact. On September 11th, 2001, there were 1,416 master at arms in the entire Navy. Of that group, there were 61 of us that had the criminal investigations NEC. You couldn't get it. You know what I mean? Because, the Army ran the school. They got most of the quotas. Then the Marines were going to get, one or two less. Then the Air Force, we were kind of taking,
As a redheaded stepchild.
Exactly. The leftovers. But anyway, I just say that to simply say, if on September 11th, so this year, it's going to be 20 years. So 20 years ago, right now, there were 1,400 master at arms in the Navy. Today, there's somewhere between 16 and 18,000.
Wow. Big difference, huh?
Huge difference. Yeah. Because the Navy finally started understanding what we were really being trained on. That they were the only ones that looked at us any differently than Army, Marine Corps, MPs, or Air, because we all got the same training, and especially any of your post-academy training. I mean, the Army MP Corps started it all. They're the best at it all. So you're going to go there for all of your, your post-training anyway. So, but, anyway, things have changed, and they're changing quite a bit. But anyway, the reason I was saying that my career started is my career took off. And I mean, when I say took off, within my entire career, I did 13 deployments of 6 months or longer. 8 of them were either hazardous duty, imminent danger, or combat pay eligible. And so I it was very, very high speed, low drag. And it all just kind of, it was 17 years of just, and to be honest with you, I didn't really get an opportunity to kind of look back and really reflect on the big picture, of my career, probably till I had been retired 5 or 6 years.
Wow.
Maybe. And so, I'm starting to appreciate some things, a little bit more. I was always that, military is a job, not a life for me. And so I left the job at home unless the job called me, and so I'd always been like that. So just, I was never the guy with the license plates or the bumper stickers or, always wearing the T-shirts around and that kind of stuff. And it's not because I think there's anything wrong with it.
It just wasn't you, right?
It just, like it wasn't, because I love logo gear, So if you saw me in a military T-shirt or something, it would be something with a badge on it, something representing my job rating.
Or your unit, your company.
Exactly. And, my command. But I've just, and again, this is just my personal belief. I'm not saying that this is true, but I've just always felt like when you get a little bit too attached to who you are in the military, it can have a very negative impact on who people see you as on the civilian side.
You know what? I understand what you're saying. I don't know how to decipher it so the people listening can understand it. Maybe you can, but when I'm driving and I see a U.S. Marine Corps sticker on a vehicle, I say, oh, that's cute. I don't know how else to describe it, or I don't know. I don't think it's necessary in my opinion. You know what I mean?
Right. And again, I agree with you, and I'm not putting down anyone who does. I think that could be taken maybe 3 different ways. You having been someone that's been through that experience, that is a Marine, that knows what it's like to suffer, you know what I mean, out there. I mean, you look at it, you're going to look at that totally different than,
a civilian.
Well, yeah, but even before we get to the civilian, you know what I mean? Now we're talking about the little 22-year-old active duty kid who's serving his country and he's proud, and his parents and his hometown and everybody, are proud of him. And lastly, the average civilian. With everything that's been going on, the average civilian kind of looks at those things with reverence. They roll up and wave and give you a salute, and that kind of stuff I've seen. So, I mean, it depends on who you are and how you look at it. But again, I've never been that guy. I mean, it's...
Tony... If you look around the studio, you won't find anything military in this studio.
Right. This is a different life.
Right. And maybe one day I'll be that guy that'll post up all my guys, your promotion warrants are a piece of paper that tell you when you got promoted, what rank. It's very ceremonial the way you get promoted. They put everyone in formation. And long story short, I got all these promotions and awards, and I say to myself, maybe one day I'll put them up in a frame and I'll put them up in the loft. But I don't feel it. Not now. Maybe in another 20, 25 years, maybe. But I'm not that guy.
Right.
And I don't have anything, like Tony says, I don't have anything against people that do it. More power to them.
Yeah. They earn the right.
Right, absolutely. And there's none, like I said, who knows, in 8 months, all of a sudden I'm rocking a new Marine Corps Staff Sergeant, OIF cap. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. But for the moment, it's not for me, and it's obviously not for you. Listen, what did you enjoy most about being in the Navy?
I had a pretty good career. I mean, I had a pretty good career. Like everyone else, you come across a bad command, and you just have to remember that one command is that command. It's not the Navy, but it's probably got to be some of the relationships. Especially when and you're definitely gonna understand this as a Marine, but when you build a security team and the jobs that you are required, to perform, you connect with people, and you connect with them in a way where, I may not hear from you for 5 years, 6 years. Then all of a sudden my cell phone rings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you make those kind of like me and you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you make that connection, and then,
all of a sudden we're here having we're doing a podcast. We spoke this past Friday, did we not?
Yeah.
Or we hadn't spoken in maybe over a year and a half.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. But right when you were transitioning from the last spot.
Right.
Or whatever. Yeah. But anyway, so I think the relationships, but for the last part of I miss my jobs actually. Like, I had jobs that you want to get up and go to work to. I mean, I was training the Navy's mobile security forces and the expeditionary security forces for San Diego, Guam, and Bahrain. Wow. My last 6 years in or so.
Yeah, that's heavy duty responsibility.
But yes, it is. But it's more of a responsibility for the teams, than anything else. But again, when you're going through these different scenarios and this, that, and the other, you create bonds, and so I kind of miss, I guess, creating the new bonds. I guess is probably the best way to look at it. You always go somewhere where you got that one person, that you may or may not connect with. My very last command, one of the chiefs that I was probably the closest to was, tobacco dipping, dude from West Virginia. I mean, the average person, you can call it racist or not, would look at him and think he was some racist from West Virginia. Yeah. You hear him, blah, 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 but he was super intelligent, and a very, he listened to country music. So do I. Right. You know what I mean? But he had a very eclectic musical and entertainment, style.
Preference. Yeah.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, probably knew more about Black authors and art than I will probably ever learn. But again, for me, it was never about going looking for relationships. Like, oh, that person seems like somebody I want to get to know. Or they just organically have happened.
And that's the best way a relationship should be formed.
Right.
The long-lasting of ones anyway.
Absolutely. And it's just, again, it's natural and, you, they, who they are, and, it works.
Yeah.
And so anyway, that's probably the biggest thing is just the creation of new relationships.
What would you find was the most difficult aspects of being in the military?
Oh, definitely the family separation.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, and again, those that, are in, have been in, or have any real knowledge of the military understand how much time training takes you away from your family, besides the deployment. And so, and I was very fortunate, and I'm not complaining about the amount of school that I went to, but I went to a lot of school.
Preach, brother, preach.
And so I was gone a lot, and like I said, people have to realize when you take a look, at 13 deployments, you know what I mean? That's what, I think 4.5 years
away from your family.
Correct.
Allocated guys
over the course of time.
Yeah.
So
Christmases, New Year's,
birthdays,
Thanksgivings,
anniversaries, championships, cheerleading championships.
Your favorite boxer fighting, favorite boxer, you can't watch it. You're deployed.
Right.
So all you have is stories of people celebrating those occasions, and it's almost like you're piggybacking off of their story to you, like, okay, yeah, I wasn't there, but at least I have
Right.
a mental picture of how
Right.
it was.
Right. I mean, I hear stuff a lot of times, especially songs and stuff like that. And I'm like, who is that?
Yeah.
When was that out?
You know, I was in Iraq my first deployment, and we had these satellite phones. And at the time I was a sergeant, and I guess it was my time. I was up to use a satellite phone, and I called. It was just a random day, and possibly I don't even know if it was a Saturday or Sunday, because when you're in a sandbox, man, you don't count day. You don't even know Friday. Who cares?
Who cares?
It's not like you're going out to the club. But I call home to my brother's home, and they were having. It might have been one of my niece or my nephew's birthday, and that the whole family is there. My mom and my dad had arrived from El Salvador, and I just by chance call on the
That
perfect day. And I'm there passing the phone to everybody, and I'm like, man, I'm missing out. But I appreciated the mental picture, and I got off the phone feeling, I don't know, I'm feeling good. Like, man, at least my family, they're partying it up right now.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't believe in coincidence because for as good as you felt, you were there with them for that celebration.
Exactly.
So now imagine how good they
felt. Right?
You know what I mean? Being able to take that away. So,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
You traveled a lot, brother. Well, you know what? Before we move forward, you said that the toughest thing in the military was being around or not being with your family while, you're on deployment. And guys, listen, when he says training, sometimes some of these schools could be up to 3-4 months long. And it's not like he's going to a school in California. He may, if he's lucky, but a lot of these schools are out of state. So keep that into account. You being gone for another 3 months from your family to go to a school that's going to guarantee you're going to get a certificate, and it's going to give you a new responsibility that's possibly going to keep you away from your family even longer.
Right.
Because you acquired new knowledge.
Right.
Yeah. What else would you consider was a difficult issue with being in the military?
I mean, obviously the most difficult thing while in the military was my job. And so not difficult from a hard or tough standpoint. I had a very difficult job. And what I didn't realize at the time was the physical and emotional, toll being taken because, fun may not be the right word, but I mean, you young, youngsters aren't trying to be sitting behind a desk anywhere. That's not what you do it for. You know what I mean? Worst thing you could do is take a young Marine or sailor or, a soldier and stick them behind a desk. They're 20-something years old, you know what I mean? And that's all they ever do. You could run into some issues with that kind of stuff. Yeah, so.
I agree. Tell us about some of the places you've traveled to, brother.
Whew, man. So by the time I retired, I had gone to 23 different countries.
Wow. You think you can name them all?
No.
By all means, continue.
No, yeah. There's what'll happen is, we talk regions, and so a lot of time in South and Central America.
You ever got to go to El Salvador?
Well, I've been
if you,
I mean, I've been quite a few
you
places.
probably don't remember. Well, I'm from El Salvador. That's what I'm saying.
So-
I was going to ask you, have you tried pupusas?
No, look,
I'm gonna get you some pupusas, man. They're delicious. Oh my goodness.
no, man. The only Salvadorian food I done had is them beans and rice you used to make. But brother,
that's right.
ain't seen that in a minute. But anyway,
I'm gonna hook you up. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna hook you up.
look. Even if I have to be that brother that come in and make a to go plate, hey, before you give your excuse for having to leave.
It's so good, brother. So your places, the most favorite places that you've been to, man.
Obviously, all the Caribbean was really, really nice. Dubai was really nice, but it wasn't what it is today. When I went, Singapore was really nice. Hong Kong, depending on what side of the harbor you're on.
Really?
It's pretty nice.
I hear Singapore is really clean.
Super clean.
Really?
Super clean.
Wow.
I think for getting caught throwing something like spitting gum in the subway, it's like 2 lashes or something like that.
Really?
They still do caning over there.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
But anyway, I've been to a lot of places, but what we're doing now, when I say we, my wife and I, we kind of started this a few years ago, but a lot of the places that I went that I really enjoyed, we've been going back to. So she's had a chance to see some of the places. And so, we'll either, we've done a couple of European cruises, river cruises.
Hey, man, how did you like those?
Phenomenal.
Beautiful, huh?
Phenomenal.
What? And I know we're going off, same topic, but we're going, I told you we'd take tunnels left and right.
Yeah, as long as you can remember how to get us back on
I
track.
will. Don't worry. I will, brother. These European river cruises, what countries are you guys visiting?
So like the very first one that we did was on the Rhine River. And so for the most part, you're either pulling into Germany or France as you move up until you get up around the Netherlands. And then you pull up. That one, we went to Kinderjek, and then we ended it in Amsterdam. So we started in Switzerland, in Basel, Switzerland, and then worked our way up, Strasbourg, France, and
Nice.
this, and just kind of hit that part. And then the second time we went, we had a little more time. So the first one was a 8-day cruise. The second time we went, still an 8-day cruise, but we did the 12-day package. So they flew us into Paris. And so we were in Paris for 2 days.
Nice.
And then we went down to Trier and caught the boat. And so we were cruising. I think we pulled into Germany, France, a couple of other little places I can't really recall off the top of my head. And then that one ended in the Czech Republic. And so we had 2 days in the Czech Republic at the end.
Are you still utilizing the same lady that you put me on to, the travel agent?
She did this travel. We're leaving Saturday night.
Where are you guys going?
Jamaica.
Ooh, hey, bro, look at my shirt. I got a Sands Bahamas brewery shirt on. Man, I love the Caribbean.
Oh yeah.
Oh
So
man, we went to Jamaica to. Forgive me if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Is it Foulmouth?
yep, Falmouth.
And as soon as we walked out the cruise ship, and I walked maybe 300 yards, there was a guy selling beef patties. Because I'm from New York and I love beef patties. And my wife was like, "Man, look at you, you gluttonous pig." And I was like, at ease. I said, "Where's the cocoa bread?"
But yeah, so I mean, we had this. this will be our second time going down there. So it's actually my in-laws' 50th wedding anniversary.
Oh, nice.
And so we wanted to take them down there to celebrate. And then actually we ended up talking, to my sister-in-laws. And long story short, there's 18 of us going.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Wow.
everybody's going to kind of do their own little vacation thing, but their anniversary is on the 14th. So we're all going to get together, and we've reserved, a big spot in one of the restaurants and, do a dinner there. And
Hey, Tony, that's beautiful, man.
Yeah,
But,
so-
you're lucky, and your wife is lucky that both of her parents are still alive.
absolutely.
That's a blessing, man, that you guys can do that. You can do that, for your in-laws, and your wife could do that for her
Well,
parents.
considering, my father-in-law did 3 tours in Vietnam
Oh, wow.
and was shot in the first one and the third one. Shot twice. They're at a point where they're still able to move. They're he was a Marine.
A Marine?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, man.
So he did 26 years in the Marine Corps.
Goodness. Was he first sergeant? Or
Mass sergeant.
Mass
so he
sergeant.
retired as a master sergeant. For any of you familiar with it, I think they were 311 cannon cockers
Wow.
out there on Las Pogas, Camp
Hey,
Pendleton.
that shit makes when that artillery kicks, it makes you skip a heartbeat, right? I don't know if you realize that, man, but that thing makes you skip. The shock is overwhelming, to say the least. Berger's, a good friend of mine, was with the cannons, artillery, the ground thumpers is what they call them. But wow, man, your father-in-law put in some heavy work.
Oh yeah. He actually was recalled. He had just retired. He was recalled for Desert Shield, Desert Storm. And he didn't have to deploy over there, but they did. He lives down south. He lives in Alabama now.
Wow.
But they brought him out here to Camp Pendleton.
Really?
And he was basically training. Out here. But that whole, when we first retired,
Yeah.
thinking we really retired,
You're not.
but you were on the reserve recall list.
Oh, yeah.
He had 26 years, so he only had 4 years on the list. Who would have thought?
Wow.
But
That's got to be, guys, I don't know if you guys understand what Tony just said, but you get out of the military and you still have several years of reserve duty left on your contract. So you think you're going away free and scot. And all of a sudden you get a telephone call or letter in the mail talking about report to.
exactly.
And you're like, hold on a second. I just smoke weed. And so
We ain't gonna
come
test
back.
you.
Come back.
We just want you to come back to work. Exactly.
Yes. So you guys are going back to the river cruises, right?
Right.
That's awesome.
But
That is
it is, and it's a really good. What is what I tell everyone? We did Viking. There's a lot of companies out there. Viking is slightly expensive from what we hear. We're not experts. We don't. We went Viking the first time and thought it was great. So
And
we
stayed there, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah, it's sort of like eating steak. Who cares about hot dogs? You eating steak, right?
But if you took the top 5-star hotel you could find, if you took the top 5-star restaurant you could find, and you took the top 5-star services facility you could find and packed them in a suitcase, that would be a Viking cruise. The sleep, it's just, it's personalized within about 24 hours. And what I mean by that is, first day on, I'm, drinking me gold label Johnny Walker. And, they have wine, red and white wine for everyone, for each meal. But, the guy saw that I would go upstairs and, come back down with the Johnny Walker Gold. So by that second day lunch, so we had a lunch, a dinner. Second day, we had breakfast. And then by that second day lunch, they come over, hey, Mr. Tony, how's it going? Where you sitting at? Oh, we're going to sit right over there. By the time I, sit down from either the chef's carving line or, wherever, they had a drink sitting right there waiting on you, and, he never asked me what I was drinking. I'm sure he went upstairs and asked the bartender or whatever. But anyway, that kind of personalized service. If you go in your room and sit down and, change your shoes or whatever, and you leave and come back, 30 seconds later, your bed all smoothed out like you never sat on it.
Yeah.
But you never see people ever going in and out your room. You don't have dirty, wet towels. Wow. You leave, it's literally like they're in the hallway watching.
Waiting.
Yeah, because when you leave, I don't care if you use 1 towel or 5, those towels are going to be clean and replaced. Wow. When you get back, they automatically turn on, and I know this is silly, but I love it. They automatically turn on the floor. The floor is a warm floor.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, and I don't care what the temperature is outside. There's just something about stepping up on that warm floor, and then when you get out of the shower or whatever, man, but anyway.
Hey, what out of the countries that you visited, what was your favorite country regarding the food?
That's not fair.
Well, give me 3, because I need to go over there.
You don't need to go very far, actually. First, let me say this. I'm basically a black Italian. So Italian, Sicilian, foods and style, cooking is my preference over anything.
Italian food.
Yeah, but okay. So we're not going to include Italian in this conversation whatsoever. And so obviously, we hitting a couple of ports in Mexico, and I grew up on what people call Mexican food, but where I grew up, it was just food. But whatever. I've never had any of my friends' parents ask if I wanted Mexican food.
Right.
Hey, do you want something to eat? But anyway,
food is food, right?
Yeah, but anyway, people. So, but they still has to be on the top of my list simply because I like Baja, and so I don't dislike Central Mexico or mid-state stuff, but
hey, Tony, you ever been down to Puerto Nuevo in
is that the one that's just south of Rosarito?
Tijuana?
Yeah, so Tijuana, Rosarito,
and Puerto
Nuevo.
Puerto Nuevo. Forgive me, man, because it wasn't like I'm very familiar with the locales, the locations.
Right.
But Puerto Nuevo is roughly 35 minutes south of Tijuana. Mm-hmm. Maybe 40 minutes. But anyways, all the restaurants there.
I was about to say, is that the place they have like some real famous restaurant you go in and all the people wearing white or something like that?
Perhaps, but I've never been to that restaurant. It's adjacent to the ocean, right? And one of the favorite places that we go to, they've got like a big ass stuffed shark at the very top of the front of the building at the restaurant, and they fry lobsters, or you can get them grilled with rice and beans, and the view is spectacular, man. You're like right above the rocks, the oceans are right there splashing on the coral, and the service. That's one thing about going to Mexico. These individuals, these waiters, these chefs, they work hard. And I remember going there several times, and I was like, hey, man, do me a favor. I was drinking White Russians and eating lobsters, so time afterwards, right? Guys, forgive me. I know you're like, damn, this guy's nasty.
Hey, but it's grown folks' conversation. You know what I mean? If you can't handle it.
You feel me? And I would say to the the waiter, I was like, my man, you see this cup? Do not let this cup get below half. And I'm going to take care of you at the end of the night, believe me. But I hooked the old boy up with a $40 tip. because I was paying for the service.
Right.
Every time I looked at, I mean, he would come around and it would be close to the middle, and he'd be like, "Here you go, here you go," and I was like, "My man," and that's what I pay for. I could care less, if the food was so, but if the service was terrible, he's gonna pay for it because I'm not gonna give him a good tip.
Right.
Yeah, I might be a better server. Those people really work hard for the dollars, man. So I tend to try to take care of them, and the food's delicious.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. Unless my wife is filling out the receipt, I'm generally a 20% person. Like, I don't really care about, and this is why. I always just say, this is their job. Everybody has a bad day sometimes. Yeah. Everybody has issues going on in their life, and this person, it's not fair for me to make an assessment about who this person is right now. Yeah. So the standard would be 20%, be 20.
Well, for you, that's the baseline.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And see, for my wife, though, that baseline can go down. My wife,
see, me too.
The other way. My wife,
I'm just like Kim. Hey, man, if you, don't give me no attitude, motherfucker. And I'm not trying to. I'm not that person to come in and be like, hey, slave dry, man. The chips are cold.
Yeah,
I don't care. Just. Okay, guys, you could be like, damn, Carlos, your ass. All you worry about is your drink. Yes. All I'm worried about is my drink because I'm relaxing. I want to have a good time. I'm with family. And that's why, guys, okay, now I might be going off the rails. That's why I ordered 2 beers at one time. And then the waiter will give a cup to my wife, and I just grab that cup and bring it over to me.
Man,
it's for me. And he goes, oh, well, I can hold one in the fridge. No, homeboy, because by the time I'm done with this one,
it's going to take too long for you to get
I'm
back.
going to be looking for you for 4 minutes. I'm doing you a favor.
Right.
You know what I mean? But, brother, talk to me about your family. Talk to me about Kim, your kids. Tell me about your family.
So again, Kim, my wife, my other half, truly my better half. Like I said, we've been together since high school, since sophomore and junior year of high school, and seen it all, done it all, been through it all. I mean, just and I know people say it, and some people look skeptically at it, but what I would say is, when you talk about wives or families and their service to the country as well. I mean, people, again, just our situation alone, when we got married on 5 days after her 18th birthday.
Wow.
So we're both 18 years old. I'm finishing up school and training. And then that following year, we deployed to, before we deployed, we got stationed in Charleston, South Carolina. So Here we are, because her birthday hadn't come around yet. So Here we are, a 19-year-old sailor, an 18-year-old wife, and a 13-month-old baby. We fly into Charleston. And I might be dating myself in age here, but Hurricane Hugo had just torn the place up.
Wow.
And so, I mean, it really it was torn up. But we get there, we kind of get all settled in, and we're looking around like, oh, my goodness. You know what I mean? Where are we? 4 days later, I had to deploy because we were invading Panama in 8 days for Operation Just Cause. So I'm out. I mean, that quickly, ships deployed, and, come back. I think we were back maybe 2 or 3 months. Another ship was supposed to deploy, which people have to understand is we have a rotation. But if a ship, your class of ship needs to replace someone, they're going to look 2 places. Do we extend the ship that's already got sequels done?
Yeah.
Or do we have a new one close enough to being ready,
right?
That we can extend them short, whatever. So
take their place. Yeah.
Long story short, we had a ship that could not do Caribbean Shield, and so So we had to go do Caribbean Shield.
What's that? What's
so
Caribbean
we were doing
Shield?
Caribbean Shield is one of the operation names for the drug operations that we do in the Gulf of Mexico.
Okay.
And so, so anyway, we had to deploy for them. We were there, came back home. I think that was I think we had to do 3 months for that. We came back home. I think we were in a maintenance period from April to probably June because we left in the first week of September. So anyway, we're back. We did a maintenance period, and then Desert Shield, Desert Storm happened, and so the ship that I was on at that time, one of the primary missions was anti-submarine warfare. So we were doing ship escorts as we were deploying, and one thing I will say, and this isn't, bragging or anything like that, but when I tell you the Department of the Navy owned the majority of the Atlantic Ocean, I'm just here to tell you. You know what I mean? We had a carrier air group on both sides of the world underway, operating, with a full Marine Expeditionary Group.
Air Ground Task Force.
It's just kind of cool to feel like it's almost like who said something? Did you say something?
You know what's funny, and I don't mean to interrupt, but it's funny to hear other people's perspective on an operation or wartime situation, because I was focused in my little world, my little company, my little battalion, and what we did. And then there's other people in different branches of the military that did some extraordinary things, such as yourself. And it's so great to hear those stories because, like I said, all I know is the experiences that I've had and that I've dealt with.
Right.
To listen to someone else's story and to find out about their expertise and the tactics that they utilize to help everyone all together.
Right.
Is extraordinary to hear, man. And I feel privileged to be able to listen to your story.
Well, and I think too, and you and I joke around and mess around, but I think it's important for people to understand that there's no real competition between the Marine Corps and the Navy or any
branches of service for that matter.
But I think that there's this belief out there for some reason that we don't like each other. But I tell anybody, and this is truly my belief, the only weapon that this country has that's more lethal than a well-equipped Marine is a well-equipped Navy SEAL.
Yeah, my man.
I mean, that's just the truth.
That's
you know
the
what I
truth,
mean?
yeah.
That's my own belief, but I'm able to say that, and I understand because I have a better understanding of how things really happen.
Right.
Because by the time you see this makeshift camp, set up on TV with this news reporter trying to make you think that they're in the middle of combat. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? The SEALs then came in and shot everything that moved, and Force Recon then came up, cleaned the bodies, caught the dudes hiding in the closets. Yeah. I go, and then we get a Marine unit in there, security place, so the Air Force can fly overhead and drop in, the airborne units.
There is a beauty when everything works the way it's supposed to work. Mm-hmm. When you grab all branches of service, and guys, every branch of service has their niche. I mean, they're experts at a certain thing, and I appreciate watching that. Mm-hmm. How many years did you do in the Navy?
20.
20 years. You retire. What do you do after that?
So I was 37, obviously wasn't about to stop working yet. So I actually went back to school. Well, before I did that, actually, I started working federal law enforcement, which obviously is where we met.
That's how we met.
And so I guess I kind of did that until I was sure what I wanted to do. But I obviously did that for a while. And then I actually took a leave of absence. Long story short, worked at the
So they're expecting you to go back to work and arm up, right? Go 10.
But I went back to school and finished up. Long story short, I went and finished my master's in counseling, school counseling and school psychology first. Then I went, because I had been walk-on coaching, while I was in the military. And so a job opened up for me on the campus. And so I was working at Fallbrook High School. And then I was the college counselor there for about 7.5 years. And then an opportunity was coming that I knew was coming. And so I started kind of trying to get myself prepared.
For this opportunity?
Yeah, for this opportunity. And so anyway, I ended up re-enrolling in school. And so I went and finished, got my doctorate.
What'd you get your doctorate in?
So I have a doctorate of education in organizational and educational leadership.
Hey, man, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's heavy.
So it sounds fancy, but yeah, I mean, it sounds like a big deal, but it really isn't. Don't get me wrong, I'm not putting the work down because it was a lot of work, and I don't want other people who've gone through that to think that I'm blowing it off. But anyway. Point was there was going to be an administrative position coming open at the school that I had been interested in. But, I spent 20 years, in the military while these people I'm going to be competing against spent 20 years in the classroom. And so the degrees I felt put me on equal or at least a more level playing field. Yeah, because, you'd be surprised, but not a lot of teachers have their masters.
Oh,
so,
wow.
So
the experience goes a long way.
Yeah. And so, and then it's very rare, for someone to have their doctorate, period. So anyway, getting the education, my leadership and, things like that from the military was, a no-brainer. And then obviously I had been there as a counselor, so they knew me. But anyway, ended up getting a job as a principal at the high school, and so I worked in admin until I retired last year.
So you were a principal of a high school.
Correct.
Hey, man, that's pretty dope.
And so, but I mean,
guys, I got a principal in my studio right now. Or prior principal, whatever you call it.
But I mean, I would say I do want to clarify. We were in a small school system, so what that meant is at Fallbrook High School, we had 3 small schools, which were about 700 students, 2 counselors, 35 teachers, admin staff, things, So, yes, I was a principal, but it was of a small school. It was basically like running your own private school.
I got you.
But we had 3 of those on campus that were individually operating.
Okay.
And then we had a lead principal who you could really look at like our superintendent.
Right,
Yeah.
I got you. Okay.
And then he communicated directly with the district superintendent. But anyway.
Don't sell yourself short, brother. We still got a principal up in the studio, guys. You know what I mean?
But I tell you, it's I have to be careful where I go and what I do. Like I said, having been a principal and been in law enforcement.
Oh yeah.
When somebody walk up to you in the store and say, "Hey, don't I know you?"
Ooh.
Or where do I know you from?
Ooh.
It just you never feel good about that.
Yeah, you always your head's always on a swivel.
And I don't know if you remember, Carlos, but we were down in San Diego in the gym PT-ing one time, and I was on the bike or doing something, and a guy walked up to me in there and said, "Hey, don't I know you? And I was like, nah. And he was like, yeah, you kicked me out of the Navy. And I was like, nah, bro. I may have did the paperwork,
Right.
but whatever happened was
wasn't
on
my
you.
word. Right.
You know, so, but I mean, I've had that, we had I wouldn't say problem, but gang issue,
Yeah.
At Fallbrook.
Yeah.
So I would see dudes, at the Circle K,
Yeah.
here, there, talking about, oh, you ain't so bad now.
Yeah.
That you ain't on campus, and I'm like, son, that campus is the safest place for you to talk to me. if you really want to be, but anyway, so you kind of have a little bit of that going on. But anyway, so retired last year, and God just been slowing me down since then.
I'm going to fast forward a bit. I received a call from your wife, Kim. And guys, the reason why I'm so, the reason why I know Tony's wife is because I DJ'd their, you guys redid your
25th.
vows.
It was the
25th, right? I had the pleasure of DJing your guys' 25th anniversary, and you guys redid your vows. Hey, listen, man, that was such a beautiful ceremony. It was small. It was right down the street from where I live. And I had a great time doing it because it was so laid back. It was all family and close friends.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so I received a call from your wife, and she was telling me, no, I think she wanted me to DJ your 50th birthday. Might have been last September, right?
Yep.
And I told her, well, I couldn't do it because I was going through some things. And then she told me that, you told me it's okay if we speak on this. She told me that you got diagnosed with an illness.
Correct.
You want to tell the people what you got diagnosed with?
So I was diagnosed with early onset dementia and young onset Alzheimer's. And so you never know how you get them, but I know Carlos was talking earlier about people taking care of themselves and their mental health and things like that. And so, I think, I'm not going to say it's why I have it, but I think the manifestation early, probably has a lot to do with a lot of things, in the military. PTSD is one of my largest diagnoses, disability diagnosis. But anyway, there are links between PTSD in the moderate to severe range, having effects on dementia, as well as Alzheimer's, traumatic brain injuries, which I suffered two during the course of my career, have been linked. Years of stress, high level stress.
Yes.
Just so long story short, when we got the diagnosis, I really think for us, I don't want to say it was a relief, but everything made sense.
Were you having bouts with loss of memory prior to that you couldn't figure out where it was coming from?
Well, it wasn't even to the point where I was trying to figure that out as much as there were other things going on, to where when we started looking and putting this together, that together, and we started saying, man, this all keeps pointing the same way. So I'll give you an example.
Sure.
So let's say forgetfulness and balance issues. You Google, do they have anything to do with each other? Yeah. And at some point in the article, it talks about Alzheimer's, and then you go, okay, well, you know what? I've been, having these shakes in my hands, or my hands get weak and I just drop stuff, I can't hold it. And I don't know, I can't remember anything, or, I hear people that aren't there. Not like somebody's telling me to do something,
Right.
but I could legitimately hear a conversation that's not actually going on.
Right.
And I know it's not going on. So it's not that I think it's real,
Yeah.
but I really believe that I hear it.
What do these conversations consist of? If you
It
can
just
recall?
depends. It could be like CNN blast, the TV's on, or it could be, it's nothing generally very audible. It's nothing generally about anything.
specific, but it happens and it's not happening.
Correct. And I'll be like, because normally, it happens. If I'm at home by myself, I just kind of, bring myself down. I use THC for pain, memory.
My man.
All of that stuff. So, if I'm home, then I'll just, I can use my vape and, kind of bring myself down, kind of off of that. I'm on, I think I take 9 pills in the morning and 4 at night. Y'all know how the VA like to keep you medicated. But,
Ooh, yeah.
But the truth of the matter is, I see the difference.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't realize the person that I was before I started taking my medication and taking it regularly. But when I look back, it's not an excuse, but I see the reason I behaved the way I behaved. Yeah, so I mean, again, just kind of, I joined the military when I was 17. And again, I'm not making excuses. Prior to that, was always involved in team sports. And what I mean by all of that is simply, I really grew up in and was raised in and around a culture of competitiveness, and so, I mean, everything was about moving, being better than the next person, making sure they don't catch up, blah, blah, blah. And so you're moving. As far as my military career was, not only was I in and out going it when I was gone, it was pretty high speed, low drag. And so
there was a lot of stress induced in that.
Yeah, but I didn't really see it as stress.
I didn't either. I looked at it as like, I gotta get popping.
Gotta get it done.
And what that meant for me was not necessarily that I have to be better than you, but I got to be the best version of me because time is limited, man.
Correct.
Time is limited.
Correct.
So you said THC is a big help for you.
Absolutely.
I mean, obviously the VA's currently not prescribing THC or things of that nature. So are you currently going to dispensaries to get your medication? So
actually, there's a medical delivery guy I use.
Oh, okay.
Because my certificate or recommendation kind of came about like this. I have a regular pain management specialist, a board certified anesthesiologist. But we discussed bringing THC into my pain regimen because it would not only help the pain, but the inflammation. And so, again, this is I guess you could say off the record conversation or whatever that he and I are having. But, he's telling me, hey, I got my mom on this. This is the regimen, blah, 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 blah. And so I'm kind of listening. So anyway, him making that recommendation kind of made me go do more and more research,
right.
Myself.
Because if he's a board certified doctor and he's giving this to his mom.
Exactly.
Right.
And so not only that, but I mean, he got his anesthesiologist training and was a professor at UC San Francisco. So anybody who knows UC San Francisco and Johns Hopkins battle it out every year.
Hospitals.
Yeah. So anyway, he has an impeccable reputation. Everything else he's told me to do, regarding my pain, it has worked. So anyway, did my research and, felt comfortable. And so I gave it a try. And so far, literally, I found nothing but benefit.
Positives
it helps.
out of it.
I have some of my pills make me nauseous. It helps me with the nausea. I got a couple of them that kind of make me wobbly on my feet and, have issues with my balance.
Equilibrium.
And so, it helps in all these areas. And I'm not saying it has cured anything.
Yeah.
What I am saying is I have found benefit. I personally have recognized benefit to me, within me.
From THC.
From THC. Now, and I know we're kind of getting close to finishing up here, but this is what I want to be clear. I want to say this, especially if you are listening to me and you are a Christian, or you consider yourself a Christian, and you have a problem with what I'm saying. You have a right to have a problem, but I'm going to just ask you, first of all, do you believe in God? Obviously you do if you're a Christian. Do you believe that the things God said in the Bible are true? We all, Christians, believe that that's the infallible word of God. So I would simply ask you to do this. Go to Genesis, which is the first book in the Bible. Go to the first chapter of Genesis. And then go down to verses 29 and 30. God said to me, you, and everyone else, I give to you every green thing that grows upon the earth. I give it all to you for consumption. In the very next verse, he gives us the beasts of the field. Basically, he makes it okay for us to eat meat, to eat animals. And he says, I give that to you. And then he finishes that with all of the green things and plants and herbs and all the animals I have given to you. So this is what I want the Christians to answer for me, and I'll be done. Is it possible for anyone to take away from you what God has given you? And I don't mean this as a Chris Tucker joke, this, that, and the other. Carlos, one of the reasons I really have relied on it so much is because I don't think God put anything here to grow that would harm us. That's just what I believe. And again, with that mentality, I've seen a lot of things, a lot of benefits.
That come from...
from use.
Yeah.
And people need to get out of their head, the days of Cheech and Chong in the smoke-filled room and you're sitting around lazy and you're not doing anything because they would be surprised to find out, how many executives they're dealing with on a daily basis that have to hit their vape at every bathroom break.
There are a lot of productive people that utilize that as a way to help to deal with issues that they have. And it's, whether it comes in different forms, but nonetheless, if it helps you guys and if it's natural, then utilize it.
Absolutely.
Do you have anything else to say, my brother, before we sign off?
No, just definitely appreciate the opportunity. First of all, just to get to see you, brother. It's just nice to get a chance to see you and catch up. But just really, appreciate, the opportunity to come in and sit down and have some conversation. And, like I said, if I could leave, I guess, anyone with anything, I would just say, even when it doesn't feel like it or when you can't see him, he's still there. So trust in the Lord, be obedient, and I pray blessings upon everyone who's listening.
Yes, sir. Tony, I know towards the end of this podcast it felt rushed. I want to have you back.
Let me know when.
I want to have you back. We do a part 2, and we can go and divulge into a lot of these left and right tunnels we didn't have the opportunity to go into because you're a plethora of knowledge, man. And there's more stories that I want to pull out of you for the world to hear.
Sure.
But, Tony, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. Guys, this has been Chapter 77 with a good friend of mine, Tony Morrow. I want to thank you guys for your patience. I want to tell you guys I love you so much. Please take care of yourself. If you're not vaccinated, I understand you have your reasons and your purposes. I won't sit there and start to argue with you. All I say is, at a minimum, please wear your mask. Please.
Look here, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I did just want to say this.
Sure.
They've got, a certain group of people, really scared to take this. And so I just think we need to look at what that group of people looks like, because that's who's going to be dying. And so I just wanted to jump on and also say, you do what you feel like is best for you. But if you're not getting vaccinated for any other reason, just please think twice about it.
Right. And wear your mask, guys. Wear two. You don't want to get vaccinated? That's your prerogative. I suggest against it, but I know people and family that are not inclined to do that, and I respect that. But wear a mask. Wear two if you have to. Protect yourself. Protect your family, guys. This has been Chapter 77 with your homeboy, DJ Architect. Once again, I love you guys, and on behalf of Tony Morrow, we are out. Peace.
DJ Architect.